to the Ellis podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Ellis Hoops podcast, recording this on a Tuesday, and I'm so excited that my good friend, best friend, we've been through a lot together, David Buckler's joining the podcast to talk all things NBA basketball. David and I have been friends since middle school. We have been best men in each other's weddings. We have attended WrestleManias together, football games together, many baseball games together. We're just one of those friendships that's just going to stay the course for a very long time. And he is so knowledgeable about so many areas of sports. I love having him on the show. He's got his hands full. He does a number of different podcasts, which he'll talk about a little bit. So it's hard to get him on the show, but I'm trying to get him as a regular. I'd love to do like a weekly thing with him. If you know Dave and you hear this podcast, just nudge him a little bit. Just say, hey, that Ellis show is doing really well. I think you need to get a regular gig on there. As for this podcast, please follow me on social media at EllisHQ. That's on X. That's on Instagram. Obviously, follow the video podcast on YouTube at Ellis Media. Subscribers. I think I'm up to 19 or something like that. Look, subscribe. Hit the like button, give it the thumbs up. It'll go right into your feed so that whenever I record a new podcast, which has been pretty often lately, it'll show up right in your inbox in YouTube and you can just start listening. So, and then if you want to join the show or if you have questions for the show or just want to rant about something, email me, jamie@tellisellis.com. Got my two dogs literally wrestling on the floor right now, pulling out all WWE versus AEW, it looks like. I don't know, but I'll call that later. For now, let's get right into the podcast. Hope you enjoy it. All right, everybody. I am here with the man, the myth, the legend, one David Buckler. That is you. That is you. I'm talking about you. How are you?
I'm great. It's an honor to be on your show, Jamie. Congratulations on the success of Ellis. It's a really good podcast. I enjoy listening to it. Happy to be here.
Well, you're in many ways my inspiration behind all this stuff. So you get me into this stuff, and then I can't find a way out. I'm stuck in it. So the only way to move it forward was to obviously have you on the show, and really glad you're here today, and excited to talk hoops and anything you want, but. I know you have a vast knowledge of the NBA and really wanted to tap into that today a little bit.
Well, I have a vast knowledge in my own mind, right? I have a passion for the NBA, and I don't know how much knowledge I have, but we're going to kick it back and forth and see what we can, cover today.
Well, I see that shirt you're wearing. Was that intentional?
Oh, it sure was. Absolutely. I'm a big Memphis Grizzlies fan. I do the Core 4 podcast for Spotify. We cover the Memphis Grizzlies, my co-host Matthew Robles and I. And so in that show, honestly, we focus on one team. I'm excited to be with you today to talk about the league at large, because I think that the NBA has a lot of interesting storylines. I mean, certainly outside of Memphis, right? So I'm looking forward to hitting on those.
Well, I think we have a really great podcast today. We are going to hit on all the teams, do a little bit of New Year's resolutions, which I think is appropriate this time of year. The NBA is really coming into its own. We're kind of moving at the tail end of the NFL and the college football season. We are getting into WrestleMania season. I have a passion for that, and you still have a little bit of a passion. I know that's there, but
well, hold on now. I have a huge passion for wrestling and a huge passion for WrestleMania. I don't go every year anymore with you, but I still enjoy the industry, as you know, and so I'm looking forward to that as well.
Well, very good. Well, without further ado, let's get into this New Year's resolutions. Ahead of time, Dave and I talked about me taking the Eastern Conference, Dave taking the Western Conference.
Yeah, I think let's start with the Western Conference. I want to start with the Northwest Division in the Western Conference because the number one seed Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending NBA champions, look every bit the part right now. They are absolutely fantastic. And my New Year's resolution for Oklahoma City is just stay healthy and rested as much as possible, because you're clearly going to make the playoffs and you're clearly going to have a long run in the playoffs. What I really like is that SGA, who is just a sensational NBA player, I think at the end he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer, is the only Thunder averaging over 30 minutes a game. And I think that's vital. They have tremendous roster depth. And by the way, the number 1 defensive rating in the league, they're number 5 in offense. It just all works. And, they have a bit of a Wemby problem, Jamie, if you've noticed that they can't seem to beat San Antonio. But I think that's a regular season thing. When you get into a tournament type situation or a series, which is a best of 7, I think they're going to be just fine. Stay healthy, stay rested as much as possible. That's my resolution if I'm a Thunder fan.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to game plan for one team when that one team has not been a regular team in the playoffs. So understand what you're saying. I think they're playing this beautifully. They are still such a young team. They still have a ton of draft picks. What can you say about them other than, could they get to 70 wins? And is that a possibility? They started off really hot. They have dropped a couple. Again, those are good losses, but they're definitely the team to beat in the Western Conference. Dave, I think I'll start with a team out of the Central Division, and that is the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons right now, 24-8. They're first in the East. Cade Cunningham has clearly come into his own, averaging 26.5 points a game, 6.3 rebounds, and almost 10 assists per game. If you look at the MVP rankings right now, or what the sports books have down as the MVP rankings, right now he's placed in the 3rd spot. All of this great stuff with Detroit is happening really without Jaden Ivey. I thought he would be a really big piece of this team this year. He is a big piece, but he's just not getting the minutes yet. They're kind of working him in a little bit. Jalen Duran has come on unbelievably. He's up to 18 points a game, over 10 rebounds a game. This team, the question is, are they for real? By the way, Duncan Robinson was a really nice signing for them. He's played a really nice role there for them. Right now, if you look, again, I'm a guy that goes to the sports books a lot just because it tells me what America or the world is thinking of this team. If you look at where they have the Detroit Pistons, as far as winning the East, they're only shown as the 3rd best team in the East right now. So they're not getting a lot of action.
Let's be clear on something. It's not where the world or the people think of this team. It's where Vegas thinks of this team. And remember, Vegas is all about winning money, which is why it is good to go to the sports book sometimes, because all they care about is winning money. And so they do sort of have, I like to see what's going on with like DraftKings and those kind of odds too, because again, their number 1 goal is they're going to win money. And if they think Detroit's 3rd in the East, it's telling you a little something that they might be a little bit inflated right now as the number 1 seed. Now, you mentioned Jalen Duran. By the way, us Grizzlies fans love him from the University of Memphis, right?
Oh,
and he's really, really blossomed into a nice NBA center.
Yeah. Well, so if I'd have one resolution for Detroit, and by the way, all of my resolutions are like run-on sentences here, just being honest with you. Fight off the challenges, play the right pieces together, earn a top 2 seed in the East. I think they could really do that and then win a first-round series. I think that's a reasonable expectation for this team. Again, they're still pretty young. I mean, they have some veterans as well, but I think expecting them to do more than that would be a lot, and I think earning a top 2 seed could be very challenging.
Yeah, great. So let's go to now my next team in the West. They are the San Antonio Spurs, the number 2 seed currently coming out of the Southwest Division here. And my New Year's resolution for San Antonio is make a run this year. Do not waste any Victor Wembanyama time. We think that, well, they have this great runway, this great future. They've got him for the next 10, 15 years. Windows close very quickly in every sport. They have a really, really nice team. They can beat Oklahoma City. They've proven that. And Oklahoma City might be the roadblock out of the West. I love the mix on that team. By the way, I wanted to make a special note. Harrison Barnes from North Carolina.
Yeah. You're always throwing these in. I get it.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. I've already got some Memphis and some North Carolina love early in the podcast, Jamie, but he's shooting close to 40% for 3. He's been really nice for them in his role. Also, Luke Cornett shooting over 65% from the field and providing some really nice minutes when Wembanyama's not on the court. And why I think that's important is it's a classic Spurs signing where, they get, of course, they got some draft luck, but they also fill in around the periphery with really smart basketball moves. I really like Luke Cornett. I love the mix. Harper this past year has turned out to be a really nice player. So if you're the Spurs, don't waste these years. This year is as good as any to go for a championship.
Dave, a question for you. They surround Wembanyama with a lot of good young talent, really good draft picks. Do you give up some of those good young players to bring in another superstar? It could be a Giannis or someone like that. It could even be somebody that's maybe not the top superstar, but just more depth and more veteran presence. Do you do that, or is that too far?
I'm not sure what the definition of superstar is anymore.
Mm.
So, in other words, what was that? Paul George in Philly? He's not that great anymore.
Right.
No, you know what I'm saying? I mean, in all honesty, I think that there's only 10 or 12 players in the league that I would categorize as a superstar. Maybe Giannis in Milwaukee. But if they've got to give up 3 number ones and Devin Vassell and Stephen Castle and, Dylan Harper, no, I don't make that trade anymore. I think 10 years ago, we started to see like all these trades for superstars. My God, look what the Clippers gave up with SGA. And now he's going on in Oklahoma City to be, in my opinion, the second best player in the league. So no, I don't. I think they have enough to win it this year. As long as they're healthy going through the playoffs, they're well coached, they're well run. Some of their guards are a little young. And so that's where the De'Aaron Fox trade, I think, was really good for San Antonio. In my opinion, I wouldn't start moving the deck chairs around just to bring in someone other, unless it's Giannis, then I would revisit that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of making those big splash trades. You think about the chemistry that can disrupt as well. And let's be honest, even a Giannis right now isn't being the best of people, how he's handling this challenging situation. Do you want to bring that into a team that seems to have a really good mix, a really good culture there? Not heat culture, but really good culture. So I'm going to go with the New York Knicks next. They're number 2 in the East right now, 23-9, NBA Cup winners. Dave, their resolution is simple: win the East and make the finals, period. I mean, I think that's where it is with them. Brunson has turned into a really, really good player, almost 30 points a game, 6.5 assists a game. Cat's numbers are down a little bit this year. If you look at them as a team as a whole, their offensive rating, they're 3rd in the league at 121.4 points per 100 possessions. They're 16th defensive rating, which kind of surprised me a little bit, given what Cat can do as a big player, kind of big athletic player. They do need to get better there. Again, if you look at Vegas right now, they have them at first at plus 240 to win the East, and then 3rd to be the NBA Finals winner at plus 1100. I think this team is the real deal. I think they have the pieces necessary. Maybe they learned something from last year. Maybe Mike Brown just brings a better, winning presence to that team. But yeah, for the Knicks, I think it's simple: win the East, make the finals.
Well, they're one of the few teams in the NBA that has a home court advantage, a true home court advantage. Madison Square Garden, unbelievable in the playoffs. And I think that really helps them. Did I ever tell you my cat story?
No.
So Claudia, my wife, and I, we know this couple here in Ashburn, Virginia, and the husband is a really nice athlete. He was on the AAU circuit back when Cat was circulating around before he went to Kentucky. And
Okay.
Kyle was his name. And he's about 6'5". He's a nice basketball prospect. He said in AAU, they would put 4 guys on Cat, and they could do nothing with him. Like people don't even realize, yes, he was great at Kentucky. He's an NBA superstar, whether, he's won a ring or not. And he said to me one time, David, you have no idea. He was unguardable. He dominated like 4 dudes, not you and me, Jamie, not you and me and Murph. It was like 4 guys that were like dedicated to stop him. So I guess what I took from that story is, this is why I love the NBA. It's why I'm on your show today, because these are the best players on the planet. And I just love watching excellence. I think the Knicks, that's a great resolution you have there. And it might be their year. Maybe Detroit's a year away.
Yeah, I don't disagree. When I look at the East right now and just how Cleveland started out, and we'll get to them in a little bit, it does feel like this could be the year for them, but time will tell. So let me turn it back over to you, Dave. Who's your 3rd team?
Yeah, this is one of my favorites today. I'm going to go right down the list of the Western Conference standings. Number 3, Denver, out of the Northwest. And the news came out that Joker avoided a serious knee injury. However, he's still out for 4, let's say 6 weeks. And I think the
That's a
New
big,
Year's
I'm sorry to interrupt. That's a big deal. I
huge
mean,
deal.
for a team that plays through him, and when you say 4 weeks, you said it. I mean, I always add 2 more weeks to it, 4 to 6 weeks probably.
I totally agree. Now, I would add this, that his style of play is a little more grounded, right? He's not a high flyer like a John Morant. So he probably comes back in a reasonable time because he just has to kind of shuffle around the court. He's not a high flyer. However, I looked at the schedule. 7 of their next 9 are on the road. That's a difficult schedule in the NBA. Their resolution, I think, for 2026 is avoid the play-in. Now, that sounds maybe simplistic. They're only 3 games right now, Jamie, out of the number 7 seed.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, if they drop into the play-in, first of all, you got to win the play-in. And then all of a sudden, you're playing Oklahoma City in the first round. And Denver's one of those teams with lofty expectations this year. And I feel like if they can survive through the next month, they'll be totally fine and a big problem in the playoffs. One note, I really like Jonas Valanciunas, ex-Grizzly, and this is why they signed him. You know, he's shooting close to 60% for the field. He is not a ham and egger. He is not a terrible NBA player. He's a serviceable NBA player. This is why they paid him. If he can at least jump in there and keep, Murray's been great.
Yeah.
I think Denver, if they survive the next 6 weeks, they're going to be totally fine. But don't slide down and have to play those extra games for a team that has a long playoff run ahead of them.
Yeah, Valanciunas, obviously he's no joker, but could you imagine if they didn't have, who was their backup center last year? I'm not even certain who it was.
I thought it was the guy from the Clippers, DeAndre Jordan.
Yes, but Jordan didn't get many minutes, and he wouldn't have with this team. If they didn't have Valanciunas, they could be in serious trouble. Dave, you hit on something as well. Denver's 22-10. Yet that tells you how competitive the West is. 22-10, but 3 games puts you in that play-in game. That's incredible. Absolutely unbelievable. Well, I'm going to move now to my third team out of the East, and that is the Boston Celtics. Probably a surprise to many people. 19-12, they're third in the East right now. Dave, Jaylen Brown has taken it to another level. I mean, he's always been a really good player, really good defensive player, and some really good offensive skills. He's averaging 29 points a game. His points per game is he's up 7.5 points per game over last year. Wow. And he's shooting 50% for the first time in his career. So that's the one thing you want to look at. I thought he would score a lot. I thought he would put up a lot of shots. I worried that his field goal percentage was going to plummet, but it's actually gone up to over 50%. His 3-point percentage is up 4.6% over last year. He's up to 37% from 3, which is acceptable. Derek White's averaging 18 points a game. Peyton Pritchard's field goal percentage is down, but his points per game is up. He's really become a go-to player in that rotation, in that first rotation. And there's, this possibility of a mid-March return for Tatum. And, the only question there is, does it do him more harm or good to come back maybe a little bit early? And will he help them or hurt them if he comes back into a team that's playing really well together? So I think for me, it's pretty simple. I think the resolution is weather the storm, stay in that 3rd to 4th seed position. Don't let it get too far out, and then get Tatum back. And I think this is a team that if Tatum comes back, can make a run at the East. I think they could be an Eastern Conference champion. A lot of stars would have to align, but I think that's in the cards for this team.
Well, they've been the most enjoyable story of the NBA this year. Unfortunately, I know your hometown Pacers, but they lost Halliburton, they've cratered.
Yeah.
It's really a shame for a team that made the finals last year, whereas the Celtics lost Tatum, and they've shown a lot of grit and great stats, by the way, on Brown. But I will say it's not going to hurt you. If Tatum comes back, it's much different than if they traded for a superstar, like integrating Giannis into San Antonio. But if Tatum comes back, he's going to really elevate him. And wouldn't that be something if the Celtics find themselves in the finals? They would have to have minutes restrictions, that kind of thing. It's a terrible injury he suffered, but great notes on the Celtics there. And I think if I was a Celtics fan, what a joy to watch that team this year.
Yeah, the seeding is important for them because if they can call it a number 2 seed and have a game against somebody like the Bulls or, Atlanta or someone like that, maybe they can afford to have Tatum on a minutes restriction in that first round. So really interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens here.
Great notes there on the Celtics. I'm going to jump to the fourth team in the Western Conference right now, the Houston Rockets. Here's their New Year's resolution, and I am certainly not covering new ground here. They got to fix their point guard situation. The Fred Van Vliet injury really hurt them. It's kind of a shame. But more to the point, can Reed Shepherd handle the playoffs? He's a really nice player. And, some people go back and redraft that year and would put him like number one in the draft. And I don't know about that. He's a nice player. He's been very good. By the way, the team is second in net rating. So, Houston's, these are good problems to have. I wish Memphis had these problems.
Right.
But in the playoffs, where execution in the half-court offense is vital, this is one thing that John Morant struggled with in the playoffs. It's not getting out and running in the playoffs. It's not finishing at the rim with massive, crazy dunks. It's getting in your offense and being efficient. And I don't know that Reed Shepherd can do that for 3 rounds. It would be a lot to ask of him. But the team is really, really good. Now, there's been a lot of trade talk with them, looking at a big swing like Trae Young, even a Derek White. Derek White, to me, would be fantastic. He would slide right in. But why would the Celtics give him up? They're a good team. But don't go for a Trae Young. I think they can find someone on the market, maybe a Nembhard in Indiana kind of guy, that could come in and stabilize that point guard position. They have a lot of nice talent on that team. And I think with the right matchups in the West, Jamie, the Houston Rockets could find themselves at least in the Western Conference Finals. But without stable point guard play, that doesn't happen for anybody.
Yeah, and we knew that coming into the season, and you can see that on opening night, right? Opening night, a lot of different people brought the ball up. You do worry about that. I would be shocked if they didn't swing a trade. I don't know if it's going to be for what I would consider a top caliber player, but maybe you don't need that. Maybe you just need somebody steady that can bring the ball up and share some time with Shepherd. Shepherd he's been really nice this year. He's been a good player, but you're right. In the spotlight, what's that going to look like? So
well, and I say one last note on the Rockets. There's regular season basketball and there's playoff basketball.
Right.
And you can get by with some guys on the bench filling in, but in the playoffs, again, the game is more physical. There's less calls from the officials. There's less running in the open court, and you need a guy who can get up the floor and get you into your offense and has that experience. That's why Van Vliet was perfect for that team.
Yeah.
So it's a devastating injury. We'll see. I think there's no way the Rockets don't make a trade to get someone behind Shepherd because they have championship goals.
And Houston, again, with Joker's injury in Denver and San Antonio, maybe they're playing a little bit ahead of themselves right now. Houston has a chance to be a number 2 seed in that conference, which I think conference seeding, especially in the West, is going to be so important this year. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a trade. I feel like they almost have to, but they were a team I think both you and I liked at the beginning of the season to really push the West a little bit.
Well, how many years they have a Durant left? He's not playing 10 more years. Again, don't waste the opportunity.
Agree. Well, another team I think you and I were intrigued about going into this year is the Toronto Raptors, and they've been a nice story. 20-14, 4th in the East right now. They're coming off big wins against the Magic and the Golden State Warriors. Good mix of vets and younger players. They've kind of gelled. I think anybody that looked at this team and saw Brandon Ingram coming in may have scratched their heads and say, how is he going to work with this group of players? He's been really good. He's averaging 22 points a game. Quickly's averaging 16 points a game. RJ Barrett is playing really well. And then you have Scotty Barnes, of course. I think, defensively, they play really well together. They're 7th in defensive rating at 112.5 points. And, I think for them, I do expect some slippage here. I think they've played maybe ahead of themselves a little bit. Now they do have some stabilizing veterans there, but I think for them, slippage is likely. You've got the Magic, the Sixers, the Cavs that could jump over them. I think if you're Toronto, just avoid the play-in game. Just keep your head above water, avoid the play-in game, get into the playoffs, and then you don't know who you're going to play in the playoffs. It could be a Celtics team at number 3. And if Tatum is just coming back in, who knows what could happen. But that would be my resolution for Toronto. Really a nice story, though, so far this year.
Have you ever been to Toronto?
I have never been to Toronto. The
Yeah,
huge fans are great, right?
Yeah, and that was the point, is that, sometimes because we can be a little egocentric, like in the cities we live in and stuff. They love the Raptors.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the Raptors a lot, but they have great support. The Maple Leafs have great support. The Blue Jays, we saw the World Series. The fans were fantastic. They're an interesting team. I like what you said about them. I did want to mention, if you look at Jamal Sheed, I believe as you say his name, the last game against Orlando, he scored 19. And why I bring him up is because he's a second-round pick, and he came in as a backup point guard and played really well. The point, Jamie, is that second-round picks have become more important than ever, because you can't pay. Desmond Bane got traded from the Grizzlies because he was too expensive. And so you better draft wherever picks you have. Don't waste any of them. Second-round picks are really, really valuable, and the Raptors got a good one there.
Yeah, Sheed's playing over 20 minutes a game. I mean, that tells you something, right? They're putting him in big situations. So really good point. Really good point.
Love it. Let's jump to the 5th seed in the West right now, the Los Angeles Lakers. They remind me of the Cowboys sometimes, Jamie. Like, the uniforms are beautiful. They have a great history, and they're flashy and fun. But let's look under the hood a little bit. I mean, the resolution clearly for the Lakers is tightening up the defense. They're 23rd in defensive rating. They can score the ball. Everybody knows they're big three, although I would sort of argue they're big one. I don't love Austin Reeves as much as everybody else, and LeBron's getting old. Those three guys are averaging over 32 minutes a game. That's a lot of tread for a regular season just to pull this Lakers team up the Western Conference. And I just can't see a team that's 3rd in defensive rating winning multiple rounds in the Western Conference. LeBron's not the same. Everyone posts videos on X about his defensive shortcomings. Luka's fantastic. This team is clearly transitioning to the Luka Doncic phase, which might be successful down the road. I don't know how they improve that defense this year, though.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you. I'm Austin Reeves. I really like Austin Reeves. That's, what is it that you don't like about Austin Reeves?
No, I like him. He's a really, really nice NBA player. But I guess what I don't like is like, for example, if the Grizzlies traded Jaren Jackson to the Lakers, which I always thought was the move, and the big return was Austin Reeves, I'd be like, really?
Yeah, I get it. Okay. Maybe he does fit in really well with that Lakers offense. He puts up some big points. I mean, he's a scorer, right? Just 27 points a game. It's funny. He does turn the ball over a little bit, but I just, beyond Luka and Reeves, there's just not a whole lot there, right? I mean, again, you're right. LeBron, forget LeBron for a little bit.
Well, I mean, he has moments. In fairness, he has moments. He's a wonderful player even at this age. But, again, I don't see a team built around those three being able to get through the Western Conference with the grind of 7-game series. And you got to make stops. At some point, you got to make stops. And those three guys don't make stops. And then DeAndre Ayton is okay, never a great defensive center. And they're just not good enough. And it's weird because they have literally one of the 5 best players on the planet.
And I didn't mean any disrespect to LeBron. It's just, you're not going to be able to put the team on his shoulders through a playoff series anymore. You also have some leadership issues there. Ayton, Marcus Smart, you don't love that. Now, they've been okay. And I think part of that is this is Luka's team, as you said. But I don't see the Lakers winning a first-round series. Maybe they can, just Luke is special and maybe he can carry them, but it does feel like this is a team in transition a little bit. It will probably look a lot different next year than it does this year. The question is, do you build around Luka and Austin Reeves, or do you trade Austin Reeves and perhaps get some type of return? Well, my next team, Dave, is 5th in the East, and that is the Orlando Magic. What I'll say is, to me, they've been a little disappointing. They're 18-15, 5th in the East. They've, both Wagners have been out and will be out another 1 to 2 weeks. They've been bit by the injury bug a little bit this year as they were last year. They're really streaky. They started off 1-4, and then for the month of November, they went 12-4. And then since then, they're 5-7. One thing that they really wanted to improve this year was their three-point shooting. They bring in Desmond Bane, as you said. He's only hitting, 34.5% from three-point range. You would hope that that would be higher from a career standpoint. He's usually higher than that. The Magic rank 37th or 27th, not 37th. That's good. They're not 37th. They rank 27th in the league in three-point field goal percentage, but they're also only taking, they're 25th in three-point field goal attempts. So you would hope that as a team, that would be something they would have improved upon a lot more. For me, their resolution is pretty simple. They've got to get healthy. They have to take and hit more threes. They've got to get in that upper half of the league. You can't have you can't have the opponents collapsing on that interior and not get the spacing. Bane's got to do better. And again, for them, I think it's avoid the play-in game. Finish in the top 6.
I'm one of the few Grizzlies fans, I guess you would say, that I had no problem with the Desmond Bane trade. And I thought it was a good NBA trade for both
good return.
sides. Frankly, I thought it was better for Memphis. I mean, they got basically 4 number 1 picks out of it. Desmond Bane is not Steph Curry.
Right.
He's, and he plays limited defense. Memphis for years tried to get him to be like more of an on-ball kind of facilitator, limited success. I did think he went to a team that was good for him. So sometimes it works out both ways. I think he's going to eventually really settle in. It's been better lately. I did want to mention one thing about Orlando. Tyus Jones is the kind of backup point guard I'm talking about with Houston earlier. He would cost a second-round pick to get, to Orlando. And Tyus Jones had really good moments in Memphis and in the league. He's been in the league a long time, since 2015. They need someone in Houston like a Tyus Jones. It wouldn't hurt Orlando that much. And we'll see. I really have great notes there on the Magic. Our friend Scotty lives, has always been an Orlando Magic fan and seems like he's excited about this team. But, Jamie, is it fair to say Orlando's one of those teams like, we'll wait and see? Like, they don't have a lot of history of success, so maybe we don't take them seriously enough.
Yeah, I thought this could be, and they still could be, but I thought this would be a top 3 team in the East this year.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they're only 3 games out of being in that top, in the top 3, but I think they've underperformed. And again, they've got to get the health right. I know that's easy for me to say, but it's just they haven't clicked on all cylinders. Maybe they'll start turning it around here a little bit, but again, they're just kind of they've been very average so far this year.
Yeah, let's go into my next team in the Western Conference, the 6th seed in the West, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I think they flow nicely in this conversation with Orlando. A little disappointing. I mean, 21-12, they're fine, but there's a 6th seed in the West. This team's been to multiple Western Conference finals. Everyone loves Ant-Man, and they're 21-12, 7 games out. And my resolution for the Minnesota Timberwolves is they apparently have to avoid Denver in round 1. They can't beat the Nuggets. And now, what the injury situation with Joker is, in April, if they're at full strength, they really struggle against Denver. But when I was looking at this, they don't just struggle against Denver. They struggle against good teams. They can't beat the Lakers. They can't beat the Rockets. They can't beat the Thunder. And, at some point, you're not playing the Kings and the Pelicans anymore. And I think for a team that's got a lot of veteran talent, they need to really, really start being excellent against the best teams. I mean, they're a top 10 offensive defensive rating, which is pretty good, but I'm not seeing the results that are going to show themselves in April. I don't love their bench other than Naz Reid, but I think this is the number 1 team in the Western Conference, Jamie. The matchups in the playoffs are going to be absolutely critical to how far the Timberwolves can go.
Yeah, that's Dave, I think they were hoping a Rob Dillingham would come in and be a much better force than he has been. He's only getting about 10 minutes a game right now. Not even really getting a great look. Conley's still getting close to 20 minutes a game. Julius Randle is a scorer, but he's also not the best defensive player in the league. And while they have some bigs in the front court, really good bigs, really good defensive bigs, I think when you get to that, Julius Randle on defense, even Ant to an extent, although he's a good defensive player, it just feels like they're missing a piece or it's mispieced. I don't know if the trade for Julius Randle was great for the Timberwolves looking back at it. Could have Cat been a better fit there? I mean, they were big to begin with, but I always liked Minnesota. Part of it is because of Ant, but, I don't think they're going to be able to get to the Western Conference Finals this year with the team as is. So with that, I'm going to go to my sixth team, which is, again, a little bit of a surprise, the Miami Heat. The Heat are 18-15. They're sixth in the East. They have been more up-tempo this year than they have in the past. They're 11th in offensive rating at 115 points, fourth in defensive rating, which is really good. Dave, Norman Powell. Oh, my goodness. Look, I've always thought Norman Powell was a good player. I don't know why teams give up on him. He's averaging 24 points a game. Tyler Hero, 24 points. Jaime Jaquez, which I think both of us liked coming out of the draft a couple of years ago, he's at 16 points per game. They are always well coached. They're again, always well coached. I think for them, the resolution, they found some early season magic. They started 14-7. They found some good rotations. They've got to keep that streak going. They've had some nice wins against the Hawks, the Pacers, and the Nuggets, by the way. I think their goal is to stay in the top six and avoid a play-in game. I think that's a reasonable goal for them. It's going to be really tough when you have teams like the Cavaliers behind you, but that would be my goal for them. That would be my resolution. Finish in the top six. Stay above water. Don't just play 500 the rest of the year. I think this team has some good things going on. And when you have the right coach like that, you can have higher expectations.
This is the John Morant team. I mean, the Heat, this is the John Morant for Tyler Hero swap, and it would be a good fresh start for both. Actually, I'd love it. Everyone in Memphis is concerned about the Ja 3 shoes that just came out. It doesn't affect winning. We'll get to that, in a second. But Tyler Hero is a nice ball player who could put the ball in the basket, and maybe the Heat need a little sizzle. I think that the Heat are really, really good. Powell's a great story. Bam's a great story. But they don't have enough in a 7-game series against the upper teams in the league. And maybe Ja wouldn't solve that either. But I'm just saying, they just, he would probably, I think, flourish in that environment. And I think this team is nice around the periphery, probably needs to take a big swing.
They don't have that star player, that attractive player that's going to put butts in seats to see games. Ja would be, especially under Spoelstra, I think, would be a really nice addition. You're right. They will struggle to even make a first round series, a 6 or 7 game series. That said, they're playing pretty well right now. I thought it was funny. You said the Heat don't have any sizzle. I thought that was pretty creative there. Sizzle. Well,
yeah. But I didn't understand why the Clippers traded Powell. I always liked him, and what I thought about with the Heat, Jamie, when Pascal Siakam went from Toronto to Indiana, it was a really nice career move for Pascal, but for the Pacers. I kind of view Bam Adebayo sort of like that. He'd be a really nice fit somewhere else in the NBA. Because I think they're getting a little bit lost with him down there in South Beach. This is a team that's, they're fine. But we're right now, I think we're getting to the part of the podcast where if teams don't improve, they're not going to be in the Western or Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, and I also think, at least from an East standpoint, you're kind of reaching that threshold of competitiveness. I think it goes deeper in the West, obviously. But, you look at the East with Detroit playing the way they are, the Knicks, the Celtics, Toronto. I don't really have them in that top 4, but then you talk about the Magic, perhaps. It's like the amount of teams that are really true contenders, it's pretty capped out in the East.
So my next team in the Western Conference, New Year's resolutions for the Phoenix Suns, who've been a little bit of a pleasant surprise. Yeah. The Phoenix Suns have been a pleasant surprise. The biggest resolution for them is they need to find out if Jalen Green is part of their future. He's only played 2 games. It's such a shame. He's got some hamstring problems, but he's only 23 years old. He's a 20-point-a-game scorer, and they don't grow on trees. I think Jalen Green's kind of cool, actually. I like him. Doesn't play much defense. His extension just kicked in. They have him signed for a while. But that doesn't necessarily all add up to being a great fit with Devin Booker and because the interesting thing about the Suns is that they have a little bit more of a defensive culture now and a little more grit than maybe we thought. They've always just been kind of a flashy team. I kind of like the Suns. what they've put in place out there. And so, is Jalen Green a part of that for the money they're going to pay him? And I always come back to this with the Grizzlies. Everything's economical.
Yeah.
It's this, you can't talk about these players in a vacuum. He makes a lot of money. If he's going to be a part of their future, fine. If not, move them along. But they might come back to, one day be kind of disappointed they moved him so quick because they don't have enough of the, what I would say, like the case study here yet to see if he's a real good fit in Phoenix.
Yeah, I do think they've been a nice story, though, surprisingly. I mean, 19-13. I was just trying to find out where I had them picked, but I can tell you it was definitely not in the upper echelon. I had them winning 26 games for the year, and they're already at 19. So a good story, but completely agree with you. I do think they need to figure some things out. This is more of a play for the long term for Phoenix and where they want to be. It's been a nice story this year, but don't let that mask some hidden issues that you need to fix. Where you said San Antonio, go for it. Phoenix, do not go for it. Figure out what you have. So my next team, Dave, seventh in the Eastern Conference right now is the Philadelphia 76ers. They're 16-14. They've lost 3 straight. I guess if you asked me at the beginning of the year, where would the Sixers be at this point? I'd probably say, probably about 500. It's a shame. I feel like with Embiid and his limitations, they're wasting guys like Maxey, like McCain, although McCain's been injured this year quite a bit, like an Edgecombe who's come in and been a superstar. I feel like they're wasting some of their time on guys like Embiid and Paul George, who will be lucky to play 82 games collectively. I don't think they'll even get there. It might be more like 60 games. I think the resolution for them is simple. Figure out a way to dump salary, either Embiid and or George. And I don't know, by the way, what either of those guys would bring them right now. It might not be a whole lot, but I could see them building a team around Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, Edgecombe. These are good young players. And I just feel like they're at this point where they can't really move forward until they figure out what they're doing with Embiid and Paul George. So figure it out and figure it out soon.
Well, it's ironic because the Sixers are playing the Grizzlies tonight, and they're very similar teams. They have too much conversation around Embiid. We have too much conversation around John Morant. And what's happened is what you just said. Slowly, these other guys have come in and have been really the foundation of the team. Memphis is actually more a Zach Edey, Cedric Coward, Cam Spencer, Jalen Wells team than it is Jaren and Ja. Yeah. And the Sixers are Tyrese Maxey's team. So they can get rid of Paul George if they want. The city's not going to burn down. They can trade Joel Embiid. And I think that's why the Sixers have been a really fun story, because they have an interesting team, and we're not talking about if Embiid plays.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm almost disappointed when I hear he's going to be in the lineup. Maxey's averaging almost 31 points a game. Yeah, he has become a star, and fans love him, and not just Philly fans. I mean, he's getting, I think I just read he's the number 2 vote getter for the All-Star game. So I think Philly has a bright future, but they've got to figure this out. They're not going to figure it out probably during the season, but hopefully they do something in the off season, even if it's just to unload these guys. Just figure something out soon.
Well, switching back to the Western Conference, New Year's resolutions for the number 8 seed, the Golden State Warriors, a team that right now is in the play-in, Jamie. They don't want to be there. This is a team with a lot of history of success. And again, the New Year's resolution for the Warriors is very, very obvious. They got to trade for more offensive help. I mean, Stephen Curry's great, averaging almost 29 points a game at his age, but there's quite a drop after that. And Jimmy Butler next in line at almost 20. If you trust Jimmy Butler, good for you. And he's already caused some headaches this year. This team is simply not good enough offensively to win an NBA championship anymore. Long gone are the days of the Splash Brothers. Curry's amazing. Their defense is actually reasonable, but if they don't resolve the Kuminga situation, who I kind of like more than some, but if they don't resolve that situation and get more offensive help for Steph Curry, this team is pretty guardable and pretty beatable in April.
Yeah, it's You could see this, I think, when the season started. They've got a lot of age on this team. You mentioned Curry. Yeah, he's averaging 29 points. Butler averaging 20 points. Kuminga, is he a trade chip? Is that somebody that they could get some return for? Even if they did, though, again, you're starting to talk about identity. And is it time to find a new identity there? You're right, Steph Curry's a wonderful player, but this is not a team that's going to win a first-round matchup the way they're built right now. All right. So, Dave, I'm going to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, who surprisingly are 8th in the East right now, 18-16. It's interesting. This is very much the same team as last year. They have had some injury issues. Darius Garland he continues to have this toe issue. I kind of laugh about it, but it's a big deal. He's regressed a little bit. There's some Darius Garland trade buzz out there. You have DeAndre Hunter shooting only 42% this year, which is down from where they were last year. As I was preparing for this podcast, I was trying to dig into what is different with this team. And I feel like there's just less intensity. When I watch their games, it's just less intensity. And maybe the level of intensity they had last year was really good for the regular season, but maybe it hurt them in the postseason. So maybe they pulling back a little bit, but that's not an easy thing to do. And you're sitting here at 18-16, an 8th seed right now. They started out 7-3. They're 11-13 since then. I think their resolution, they did have a nice win against the Spurs last night. I will say that it was a big win. I think their resolution is, stop the Garland trade buzz, get back to basics, do what you have to do. You won 64 games last year. Finish in the top 4 in the East, and then make a run towards the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they are a team that could still win the Eastern Conference, be the Eastern Conference representative in the championship. They just have to get back to what they were doing last year.
I think they're a massive disappointment. And you hit on the reasons. I think when you look at having Donovan Mitchell, who's one of the best players in the NBA, and some really, really good talent around them, and they're 18-16 and wallowing in the Eastern Conference play-in. You can understand why the Pacers fell off after their best player got hurt. It just devastated them, right? And maybe they were a little inflated anyway, but the Cavaliers are one of those teams that came in with expectations, and this is not working. Something's not working in Cleveland, and to be 18-16, I always say, Jamie, you can't win the NBA championship in October, November, and December, but you can lose it. And, if they squeeze into the playoffs and they don't get a top 4 seed like you suggest, they're not going to advance, and it's going to be a disappointing season.
Yeah, they have been known to go on streaks. They had a 15-0 streak. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. They could make a comeback here pretty quickly. They have the talent to do it. They have to do it. And I think they still can get in a top 4 position. And look, I don't think the Cavs are a team I would want to play in the playoffs if they're trending in the right direction.
So switching back to the West, the number 9 seed in the West, my beloved Memphis Grizzlies. So let's start there. Clearly the New Year's resolution, it's the black cloud that is hanging over this franchise, is the Ja Morant extension. So, he's signed through 2028. They could have added 2 more years. They did not. And they didn't do it for a reason. He hasn't played 10 games in a row in 3 years, which is absolutely unbelievable. And if you want to be paid and be the face of a franchise, it carries with it responsibility. And it's a word that everyone knows who likes the NBA. That is not something that's really been, he's not been great at being responsible as the leader of this franchise. And I would argue this, Jamie. I mean, certainly the identity of the Grizzlies has changed. There's no more grit and grind. I do a show called The Core 4 on a beloved era of Memphis basketball. Memphis is really struggling to find what the next Memphis era is going to be. It was supposed to be Ja, Jaren, and Bane. Bane's gone. Jaren is nowhere close to the Defensive Player of the Year that he was 2 years ago. He's not even in the conversation anymore of best defensive players in the league. And Ja Morant shooting 22% from 3, shooting below 40% from 2-point range. And what I said earlier, I think is the key. His style of play does not translate to the playoffs. He wants to get out and run. Well, that's great against Sacramento in November. It doesn't work against Oklahoma City in April. When they triple team him, you get the ball out of his hands. He can't make you pay for leaving him open, and he's not getting to the rim anymore. The injuries have taken their toll. The league does not have a long history of small point guards who've led teams to NBA titles. I don't want to hear Isaiah Thomas. That's a one-off, and he was, by the way, one of the best 25, 30 players ever. So the Grizzlies have to really evaluate, do we want to be cool and sell Ja 3 sneakers, or do we want to win? And I think that's the big 2026 decision.
And part of the problem is the city, you feel like they want the sneakers, right? And I've talked to you about this before, and they love Ja, right? It's all Ja, and I get it. And he's a marketing engine down there, I'm sure. But is that the best thing for the team to win games?
Well, let me say this. One last note on the Grizzlies, because I could probably take up the next hour of your time. People say, well, he puts butts in seats. Does he? Because when the Grizzlies played the Thunder in the playoffs last year, Game 4, he didn't play because he got hurt in the end of Game 3. Tickets were going for $8 a piece. You can't run an NBA team in a playoff situation where the tickets are going for $8, and they weren't much more for Game 3 when he got hurt. And they were just here in Washington on Sunday, thousands of seats available, Jamie. When the Lakers come to town, that game against the Wizards is sold out. He played on Sunday in Washington. I looked on Ticketmaster. There were at least 8,000 tickets available. And no one cared about John Morant coming to town. So this is a fabrication of, they think he's a superstar. You're a superstar in April, May, and June. Right? Steph Curry has 4 rings. SGA is a superstar because he has a ring. The Joker has a ring. John Morant has never been to the Western Conference Finals. So, the Grizzlies, if they want to be, in the John Morant business, you don't pay good players great money, and it's a real problem. And it's the biggest decision for them in the next 12 months.
What is his trade value? What could they get for him?
They think like every team wants him. You look at Bill Simmons on through all the people that love the NBA. It's like maybe Minnesota, maybe Miami. I don't know. If you were the Lakers, what does he solve for you? Nothing. Yeah. If you're Denver, Jamal Murray's better. Yeah. What teams in the league are desperate for a point guard?
Yeah. Tough situation. I know you love him.
Milwaukee. But what would Milwaukee have to give up?
Yeah.
To get him? To match the salaries and everything. He's not going to turn Milwaukee around. Doesn't even play.
Well, maybe this next team, maybe he could help turn them around, the Chicago Bulls. Chicago sitting at 15-17, 9th in the East. They've lost 2 straight. Boy, doesn't it feel like this is Chicago's story all the time? Aren't they always 15-17?
Always.
9th in the East. Offensive rating, they're 22nd. Defensive rating, they're 24th. I'm just, Dave, don't talk to me about a Giannis trade. Don't talk to me about a Trae Young trade. Trade away pieces. This is not a team that's one player away. What is Giannis going to turn that team around? I don't know if anybody could turn that team around. Look, they own their own draft picks plus Portland's 2026 that's 1 to 14 protected. That has some value to it. Here's my resolution. Chicago Bulls, make a statement of some kind. Either we want to win now, which I don't think is the right answer. I don't think trading for Trae Young or Giannis is the right answer. Or we're going to lose a lot right now, but we're going to build for the future. And I think that's the right answer. They have an opportunity to trade away pieces like Vucevic and Kobe White. Kobe White, I'm not sure. He's a good player.
Where'd he go to school?
At UNC. Still, they have to get out of this subpar mediocrity play-in game that they've been in and will continue to be in for the next 10 years if they don't do something.
I like Ellis. I like him a lot. I think he'd be a really nice player on another team. I like Josh Giddey a lot. I always have. I think the Bulls have interesting pieces, but great point there. They're just stuck. And it's interesting. If they were in the Western Conference with that same record, I'd say, well, it's the West. It is confusing why, and they did get off to a good start this year, and then it's been a struggle since. I think they have some nice players. It is a little bit of a head scratcher. Let me ask you this, Jamie. Sometimes with these teams that have won big in the past, like they have 6 championships from the Jordan years, they can kind of glide on that for eternity. I don't worry about the Chicago Bulls. It's sad for Sacramento. They never won. I mean, the Bulls have 6 rings. So, fuck
I
them.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But Dave, that's been 35 years ago now.
Oh, yeah, I know. But, like, does anybody cry for the Cowboys in the NFL? Because they remember the Emmett Michael Aikman years, and like when you have a run, it kind of is like, that was our run. As a Cowboys fan, that was our run. I'm
Yeah.
kind of excited about, like, for example, another team in the NFL, like the Houston Texans
Sure.
or the Jaguars or
Jacksonville.
the Chargers, someone who's never had success. You as a Colts fan had a great run. You got a Super Bowl, went to 2. Like, you saw the highs of the highs. The point of the Bulls here is that it's disappointing, but I don't worry about the Bulls because they can always go back and watch the Jordan tapes.
Yeah, I hear you. And those teams will be forever remembered. I think part of the reason the Bulls frustrate me right now is I do liken them to the Colts in a way. They're just mired in mediocrity, and that can be frustrating as a fan. So I get it. I hear you.
Well, you talk about a team that, you say the Bulls, it's been a while. My next team in the West, number 10 seed, the Portland Trail Blazers. I mean, poor Bill Walton recently passed, and it's been a long time since the Blazers even remember the days of Clyde Drexler and Jerome Kersey. I like the Portland Trail Blazers. I like what they put together. Danny Avia, which I practiced 10 times before I came on your show to say his name right.
Yeah.
This kid's special, 24 years old, averaging almost 26. What I like about him more than anything, Jamie, is his contract. And living in Washington, D.C., how did this guy squeeze away from the Wizards? Because he was a first-round pick. It wasn't like the Wizards didn't acknowledge his talent, and now he's on Portland. But my resolution for the Portland Trail Blazers is they need some playoff reps. So I think their resolution should be get in the play-in tournament, even if they, get the 8 seed and get waxed by Oklahoma City. I think those young teams need playoff scars to just go and see what this is all about. One thing I wanted to mention to you is they play fast. They're one of the fastest teams in the NBA, but they're not one of the most efficient. That's an interesting dichotomy. And I think that comes from experience. Scoot Henderson's been a disappointment, but I love Shaedon Sharpe. I don't know if you saw his windmill dunk the other night, was like breathtaking. But the Trailblazers are a team that if they could get that 8 seed and at least get beat up for 4 games, that might actually help them for next year.
I think we were excited about this team coming in because they finished pretty well last year. I can't remember exactly how they finished, but I want to say it was like 24-18, 24-16, something like that. This team does have some talent. Being in the West is difficult. You feel like if this was a team in the East, they'd probably be a 4 or 5 right now instead of a 10. But I think you're right. I think with time comes that efficiency, and they're taking their bumps right now. I really want to see them get into at least a play-in game this year and see how they perform. Really good pieces. I'm excited for Portland. I think this next team for me, David, is really an interesting team, and that is Milwaukee. I think I had them going to the NBA Finals this year, and they're sitting here at 14-19. They are
stop giving my co-host Robles crap because he thought the Jazz were going to stink.
Yeah, I know. This was, when you have Giannis, anything's possible. I really thought maybe bringing in Turner was a good piece for them. Their offensive rating's 23rd. They're 17th in defensive rating. I'm tired of the Giannis trade talk. Look, I look at this team outside of Giannis. Who excites you? Does AJ Green excite you? Does Bobby Portis excite you? Does Gary Trent, Kevin Porter, Miles Turner, do they excite you? Because they don't excite me. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the trade talk and just yuck. My resolution is just trade Giannis and be done with it, because this is a story that's just not going to go away.
You got to start over. And it's a complete mismanagement to have one of the 5 best players on the planet and be sitting at 14-19 in the Eastern Conference. It's a fireable offense. We talked earlier in this podcast, Jamie, about trading for a star, and they tried that with Damian Lillard. And it was awful. It was a terrible trade when it happened, and it's not played out well at all. Of course, he's not even on the team anymore and barely played for them. But, I agree with you on the Bucks. Giannis can move the needle somewhere. And it's time to look at the nice shiny rings they got, which is an amazing story, and it's time to move on.
And they have a chance here to get some real value back and
Sure.
to rebuild. So, at least Milwaukee did get something out of Giannis. He's been unbelievable in Milwaukee, but clearly they're at an impasse. Something needs to be done.
Totally agree. So the next team in the Western Conference here, the 11 seed Utah Jazz. We joke about Utah because they didn't have a lot of expectations coming in, but the biggest thing for me, their New Year's resolution should be to do not get in the playoff. Do not get in the play-in. This team needs to sink in the lottery and get a top 5 pick. This lottery has real talent in it, which is one of the nice things about the NIL is it's keeping kids in college. There's real college talent coming into the NBA. And I really like what Utah's put together. And I would add this, sink to the lottery, get a top 5 pick, and keep Ace Bailey on the floor the next remainder, how many games they have left. Because he's averaging about 30 minutes. Keep it there. He's been totally fine. 10.4 points, 3.3 rebounds. Let him grow. Let him get his scars on the floor. And this team, just keep rolling these kids out there, and marketing's great, and maybe you get a top 5 pick. I think Ace Bailey's been okay. His shooting needs to get better, but he's a rookie, and just, make sure you don't squeeze into that 10 seed and hurt your lottery chances.
Yeah, and a lottery that's going to be really good this year. You said,
Yep.
there's a lot of good college kids coming out. Feels like every year now, which makes sense. But this year in particular, I feel like it's kind of stacked. This next team for me, it's the Charlotte Hornets, and they're 11-21. They're 12th in the East. But I don't know how you feel about them. I feel like there's some hope here. I feel like they're playing better. 2026, they've got first round swap rights. They have their own 2027 draft pick. They have 2027's Dallas's pick that's 1 and 2 protected. 2027, they have Miami's pick, which is 1 through 14 protected. Bottom line is they've got some draft picks coming up. Con Knuppel, if it wasn't for Cooper Flagg, he would be talked about so much. He is being talked about. I'm not saying he's not. 19 points a game, 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. What a great story he's been. Brandon Miller, it's been okay. 18.8 points per game. He's been inconsistent. When you watch him, you see some really good plays and greatness, and then you see some kind of flaws in his game.
He's 23 years old too, right?
Correct. He's young, no doubt about it.
You get inconsistency from young kids, but when he was drafted second overall, I was not a big fan of his. And the fact that he's averaging almost 19 a game,
he's made some strides, no doubt about it. And then LaMelo Ball's been relatively healthy, which has been good. So they're making good progress. I feel like there's a path here with the draft picks, with the team they're building. I think my resolution for them is to gain more trade assets, to add to the treasure chest. Maybe you trade a Colin Sexton. Maybe you trade a Miles Bridges. Maybe you even trade a LaMelo Ball. I don't know. Depends on what you could get back. But I feel like they're building a true team here that in 2 to 3 years could be in the middle of the East, in the middle of the East playoff race, that 3, 4, 5 seed somewhere in there. They've been a nice surprise.
They've been, I actually really enjoy them on League Pass. I like watching
a great League Pass team. Great League Pass team.
I wanted to say, they took a flyer on Moussa Diabate, and they took a flyer on Tijan Salon. I'm sorry if I'm not saying names right. I like the fact that the Hornets went and drafted Con Knuppel from Duke. Let's get a kid who can play, and he's really fun to watch. I would move LaMelo Ball because I even like the guy Sion James that they got from Duke, who's been fine. To me, why would the Hornets pay LaMelo Ball $38 million a year?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me.
No, I agree to you. Diabate, I always thought he would be a nice fit in Indiana with them having their center issues. I think he's a nice player. I don't know. Something about him.
He's fine. He's fine. I just like going out against Con Knuppel, who played at a big program, is well coached. He's come in. He didn't bitch and moan about going to Charlotte. They're a very interesting team next year.
Yeah.
They're one draft away. They're one of those teams, don't make the 8 seed in the East.
Yeah, definitely
No,
not. You
give
no.
yourself a chance to get one of these top 3, 4 picks. And I like what they've put together in Charlotte.
Yeah, completely agree. Back to you.
Yeah, but I got Dallas here, the 12th seed in the West, and their New Year's resolution, Jamie, is absolutely crystal clear to me. Get whatever you can for Anthony Davis, maybe, Kyrie Irving, maybe Klay Thompson, ship them all out. Do not play for this year. This team is not built to win this year. Why are they going to make the playoffs and get run off the floor by Oklahoma City Thunder? Cooper Flag, this is why I love sports. If I was a Mavericks fan, I'd be so excited. He's 18 and a half years old, and he looks like he's going to be a Hall of Fame player. Maybe
Yeah.
he won't be, but he sure looks it. 19.5. He's a good rebounder, great passer, great competitor, and that's what you start with. By the time he's ready to be an all-star, these other guys need to move on. Get whatever you can with draft capital. The Mavericks' path forward to me is crystal clear.
Yeah, completely agree. I'm just looking at their future draft picks. They have their own pick in 26. It doesn't look like they have any picks in 27. 28, they have their own pick, but OKC has the right to swap with them. And then 29, they have their own pick. So they don't have a lot of draft capital coming in right now. You do need to make a trade, I think, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, and start putting people around Cooper Flag. He's a special player.
He's sensational. I think he's going to be a Hall of Fame player. And, weird how it all worked with the lottery and trading Luka, but he's really something.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of getting into the drudges of the East right now. I mean, I don't know if it gets any worse than the Brooklyn Nets. And I say that you could say, well,
I'm going to stop you right there.
Go
This
ahead.
is where we're going to get in a big fight on your podcast.
Make your point.
I see improvement in the bottom of the East. Improvement is not always wins and losses. I think the Nets, you're going to get to the Wizards, they're fighting.
I agree with you on the Wizards. I can't go there on the Nets. I can't do it. Michael Porter's having a great year and could be a great trade asset if they wanted to move him. 25.8 points per game. He's shooting close to 50%. Been a really good piece for them. From a draft capital standpoint, they have their own 26 pick. They have the Knicks 27 pick. They have their own 27 pick, and they have the right to swap it with Houston, which they at this point probably wouldn't. Their own 28 pick, along with Philly's 1 through 8 protected pick. So they do have more picks coming in. Part of the problem here, though, is they used all those picks last year, all these first round picks on players that I don't know if they're going to be pieces of that future for them. I'm surprised. I still think they made a mistake by drafting all of those players. That said, I think if you can get really good draft capital going forward, I think you do have to look at trading maybe a Porter, maybe a Nick Claxton. I don't see a lot of hope for Brooklyn right now. I don't see the positives that you do with them. I think they're going to be floundering here for a while.
Well, I didn't understand the 5 picks that they used last year. Remember, first-round picks are guaranteed contracts.
Right.
That's what I didn't understand. And they didn't take anybody that anybody loved.
Yeah.
So that was a little confusing. I will say, at 10 and 20, they've been competitive, and they've won some interesting games, and I kind of like what they're building. If you look at, their box scores, I like Claxton, and I like Cam Thomas, and I like Michael Porter. And if they got some draft luck, Jamie, and they got the 1 or 2 or 3 pick in the draft, there's players in this draft that could go to Brooklyn and be the star of that team. By the way, did you see the recent clips of Michael Porter in high school?
No.
There was this whole thing about how he was complaining. They asked him at what age would he have beaten a WNBA team or something like that? And he's like, when I was in 8th grade. Michael Porter was the number 1 high school player for 2 years. And he's no joke.
Was he playing AAU against Cat at any point?
Well, I have to ask my friend Kyle. But yeah. But Michael Porter was a dominant high school player. And of course, he's in the NBA. That sounds silly to say, but he was and is a very high level NBA player. Won a ring with the Nuggets.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was a good trade for both teams when he came to Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn's one good draft away. Now, they need some lottery luck. And if there's anything to say for these 5 guys, if they could get 2 of them to
Yes.
pop,
Yeah.
maybe Danny Wolf, whatever, but
Yeah.
they need 2 of these 5 guys to be solid NBA rotational pieces. I've been saying the Wizards are going to start winning for 5 years now, so maybe I'm not the best to say, but I think the Nets are not as far away as it might look to someone who doesn't follow the league. Is that fair?
I think that's fair. They've got to get, I would say, a top 3 pick in the draft this year. I think there are 3 guys. Although I think there's maybe 4 guys now, just watching some college basketball, that really could be game changers for them. So I hear what you're saying. Do you trade Porter?
No,
Would you
I would
consider
not.
that? Keep him for the next big guy, and then that guy will be surrounded with players like a Michael Porter, like a Cam Thompson, etc.
Yeah. Let's look at number 13 in the West, the Clippers. My New Year's resolution, Jamie, for the Clippers is just take it a game at a time. They've won 4 in a row. They're climbing. They got Chris Paul out the door, which is a weird story because apparently there was a lot of internal dialogue and frustration with him, and he didn't like his role. This has all been played out. Cut down the noise. Kawhi Leonard, if he's healthy, James Harden, if he's healthy, that's a lot of talent there. And, you got Paul gone, Bradley Beal's gone. Let's just cut out the noise, take a game at a time, climb up the Western Conference standings. They've got to get in to play in. This team is built to win. They're a little bit dangerous if they do. I mean, anyone with Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, 2 first-ballot Hall of Famers, can win games. But, their draft picks, they don't have a lot. They have 2 second-round picks next year, and it's not good going forward. So just quiet down, play the games in front of you, and I think it's going to be fine. I think at the end of the season, they're going to be like the 6th seed in the West. Clippers are going to be in the playoffs and be a tough out.
I had them as a 50-win team this year. Really got off to that tough start. They are playing better. I think they've won 4 straight. To get back in it, though, it's going to take a little bit. I mean, right now, they're 3 games behind the 10th seeded team, the Portland Trail Blazers. That said, they are a good veteran team, right? I mean, they should be able to make a comeback from where they are.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, I'm going to go back and pick up somebody that I had skipped over, and that's the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta, I kind of feel the same with them as I do the Milwaukee Bucks. And let me explain that. I think they're in a different situation. I actually think Atlanta does have a lot of exciting parts around them, but this continual Trae Young talk, again, it has to stop. He's a good scorer. I don't know if he is a good leader of that team. I don't know if maybe leader's a tough word. Maybe that's the wrong word. He's not a Steph Curry, and let me explain what I mean by that. Right. Let me explain what I mean. He's a really good scorer, but he is not going to go out there and win games for you when the game's on the line. I just don't feel like he is. I don't think he's shown that in the time that he's been with Atlanta. I think they have some really nice pieces with Jalen Johnson, with Dyson Daniels. Ricochet has been a little bit, I'll call him underperforming or not playing as well as he had. Alexander Walker's 20 points a game looks really good. They've got some really nice pieces. I just think this Trae Young talk, how many years are we now with Trae Young? We're in year number.
He was in the Jaren Jackson Jr. Draft, I believe.
So what year was that then?
18.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going on year 7, year 8 with him. Don't you feel like something's got to change there?
Well, I mean, they were in the 2021 Eastern Conference Finals. That might as well be 1,000 years ago.
Exactly. And I was excited about their roster coming in. I thought this could be a top 4 team in the East. I think they've got the coaching. I think they've got some talent. I just think they have a Trae Young problem.
Well, Jalen Johnson's amazing. And I would kind of argue like they're probably paying too much for their coach because he hasn't made much of a difference there. And I like Quinn Snyder and all that stuff, but like I'm not sure how much he's really helped them. I mean, the Hawks are a disappointing team. I would move Trae Young now. He's the John Moran of the Eastern Conference. It's not about getting a superstar, it's about getting the right superstar. And Trae Young doesn't move the needle for the Hawks at all. I don't really like him and I will tell you this, in fairness, he's the best player I ever saw in the NBA Summer League. When I saw him play in the Summer League, it was like, wow. Like
actually, I remember that. I
Like,
remember that because there were a lot of questions with him coming out of, what was it, Oklahoma? Was
yeah,
he Oklahoma? Like,
yeah,
he was
and
a great scorer, but would that translate to the NBA?
well, and he was super flashy and fun in the summer league. It was like, this kid's got great vision and a great passer and all that stuff. And I don't know, I mean, 15 and 19, 10th in the Eastern Conference right now is not good enough for the money that he earns. I mean, again, it's economical, Jamie. Why are they paying Trae Young all this money?
Yeah. And is he making the players around him better, or are they achieving based on their own merits? Because a superstar makes other players better, and I don't see Trae Young doing that.
No, he's not. And so I'm going to go to the last two teams. I'm going to do two here, Jamie, for the Western Conference here, because I think they go hand in hand. The two worst teams in the Western Conference, the Sacramento Kings and the New Orleans Pelicans, I feel are kind of going a little bit different direction. And I
Yeah.
wanted to build the story together because the Kings need a complete rebuild. That's their New Year's resolution. They have 8 players averaging 10 plus points, okay? And they're awful. This team, it feels a little bit like a fantasy team, a rotisserie league team. There's no fit here. There's no plan. I mean, God almighty, Russell Westbrook is averaging over 30 minutes a night playing for the Kings. What is the plan there, right?
Yeah.
They're playing Dennis Schroeder. I didn't understand the De'Aaron Fox trade at the time it happened. I thought he was kind of a good fit with the Kings. But they need to just strip it down. In the NBA, you don't want to be in the middle. You want to be at the top or the bottom. They're at the bottom and keep it going. I mean, Sabonis is signed long-term, but everyone else, get rid of Zach LaVine, get rid of DeRozan. These guys have no long-term effect of the Kings. Like the Beam was fun, but this team needs a complete rebuild. Ironically, the team that they're ahead of, I kind of like what the Pelicans have going. Now, I was looking at this before we recorded today. It's sad that the Pelicans have lost 4 straight because they had a little bit of juice going before that. And their resolution is build around the 2025 draft class.
Yeah.
Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fears
Yep.
have been pretty good. And given them a little bit of a conversation around who? Around Zion. It's been Zion for the last 5 years. If they want to move them for a good proposal. But I like the 2025 draft class for the Pelicans. Maybe they give up too much for Queen. God almighty, Atlanta owns their pick next year. If the Hawks, fall into a top 2-3 pick, that's a game changer for them. But I like Queen. I like Fears. And I like the fact that when we talk about the Pelicans, it's not all about is Zion's hamstring healthy.
So I'm not going to say much on Sacramento. Completely agree. Blow it up big. You've got to restart. New Orleans has intrigued me the last 2 years, and I think they've underperformed. And now you add Queen, you add Fears, you have Trey Murphy, who's been really good, right?
Mhm.
Averaging over 20 points a game. You have Zion. You do wonder why they're only winning, how many games? 8, 7,
They're 8 and
8
26.
games,
It's
8
not
and
good.
26. It's not good. Now they have a young team, so hopefully that gets improved upon, but I do think there's hope there for New Orleans. I agree with you. They're going in different directions from Sacramento. I
What
have
about the last
2
2 teams in the East for you?
Yeah. So I have 2 very interesting teams, the last 2. I'll start with Washington. They're 7 and 24. I think I had picked them just looking, I had picked them to win 20 games, so not much difference, and they're kind of on pace for that. That said, you see Alex Sarr taking the next step, Keyshawn George taking the next step. McCollum has an expiring contract. Now he's got $30.7 million left on that contract. It's hefty, but that expiring contract might be movable. I think, they've got some draft picks. They have a first round pick in 26 that's either from Oklahoma City, Houston, or the Clippers. They have swap rights with Phoenix in 26. 27, they have their own pick. They have some swaps in 28. So they do have some draft capital coming in. They also, if they move a guy like McCollum, maybe you do sign a free agent. I know it's not intriguing necessarily to come to DC, but could you bring in somebody to bolster some of those younger players? For some reason, I think their stars rising a little bit. I feel better about the Wizards than some of the other I'll call them bottom feeders.
Well, let me just say, I've been saying for 3 years, I thought the Wizards were going to take the next step and actually be a good team in the East. I've been proven wrong because your record is what it is. They're 7-24. I did want to say, though, when I watched the Grizzlies, by the way, they beat Memphis twice in the last week or 10 days. It's not great. But the game on Sunday, when it came down to the end of the game, McCollum and Middleton really played well. And you could say, well, they're not part of the Wizards' long-term plan. But what they do is winning helps everybody feel better about themselves. And so, you know what I'm saying? So Sarr, who played a really good game, and, some of these young Wizards players, winning at all makes you feel better than getting you stomped every night. So I thought okay, McCollum and Middleton, their role on this team is to maybe help this next generation of Wizards players, feel a little bit more encouraged about being on Washington. So when they were walking off the court, they were excited about winning that game.
Yeah. And McCollum has some leadership. I think he's a rep for the players in the union. Yep. I feel like I feel like they're ready to take that next step. But to your point, I too have said that for the last couple of years, and 7 wins is 7 wins. Now, the next team is my hometown Indiana Pacers, who were maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes away from an NBA championship last year, and they sit here at 6-27. They've lost 9 in a row. Obviously, injuries have piled up. Not just Halliburton, but Naismith was hurt. McConnell was hurt early in the year. They don't have a good answer at center. It has been interesting to see a guy like Andrew Nembhard scoring more. He's 17 points a game. He isn't shooting at as high of a percentage, which isn't surprising when you try to take on more. You do see a guy like Ben Mathurin take the next step. He's up to 18 points a game. I was hoping Jarris Walker would take the next step. I like Jarris Walker, but I don't know if he's going to fit into the next iteration of what Indiana is. Look, I think their script is very clear. Keep losing, number one. I think they have pieces that I wouldn't trade away that could be something special next year. I don't think Mathurin is part of that. If I was this team, I would take Mathurin and maybe a Jarris Walker and try to get some center help. I don't know who that could be. I heard a Walker Kessler's name mentioned. I think that would be really a nice fit for Indiana. But keep losing. Try to get one of those top 3-4 guys. Get a Tyrese Halliburton healthy and back for 26-27. I'm not saying they're going to make that run again. That was a very special run, but I think they can be competitive. I think they can be a 4-5 team in the East next year if the right things fall their way.
Is Halliburton potentially? Well, they're not going to bring him back now.
They're not going to bring him back. No.
Yeah.
No.
It's a different thing from Tatum, like we talked earlier, because the Celtics are going to make the playoffs. So Halliburton clearly sitting out. Did I see him on Monday Night Raw the other night? By the way,
probably he goes to all the Colts games. He's around town quite a bit. So yeah, it's very likely he was at Raw. So yeah, it's interesting though.
No reason to play him at all at this point because they're looking at 2026, 2027 season. A little lottery luck. You never know. I mean, again, I think there's 4 or 5 players in this draft that if Indiana will get one of them, I mean, they're right back in the top of the East next year.
Yeah, and like I said, if you can add a center through trade, that cuts down on what you have to draft next year. Now you can just add a player that could be a Mathurin type replacement, maybe come in as a 6th man or something in your first year, and could you star alongside of Halliburton in the future? But don't get me wrong, going from 6 wins or call it 20 wins for the season to 40 wins is an epic leap for bringing back one player. And culturally it's tough too. So very interesting. I didn't expect this. Obviously, I don't think anybody expected them to be this bad. But if you're going to be this bad, let's keep being this bad for a little bit longer.
At this point, right? Sure, I agree.
Well, Dave, we went through the league. That was awesome. I think we've got some. It's not mid-season yet, but some really good resolutions for these teams. I want to throw a couple things at you. Just give me your hot take on some of these topics really quick. Doesn't have to be a long segment, but just want to throw some things out at you. 25-26 rookie class. So this year's rookie class.
Oh, it's been absolutely fantastic. Just so much fun. I
So
love
much.
Knuppel in Charlotte. I mean, I like Cedric Coward in Memphis. Watch him, of course, more closely than some of the others. But, Cooper Flag, everybody knew was going to be great. I think the biggest surprise is Derek Queen in New Orleans has been really fun to watch. And, it's been great. And that is why, I tell you, the NBA draft is my favorite night of the entire year. It's better than Christmas. It's better than New Year's. I love the NBA draft. And this was a really, really nice class. I'm super excited about the draft this coming June, but it has been a lot of fun. And we'll see, if they hit the rookie wall. Sometimes you get to like January, February, March. They've never played this many games before, but it's been a lot of fun. And I think I would say this, a lot of teams made really good selections for them. We talked about the Brooklyn 5 picks. Maybe that was odd and weird. I don't know if that works out, but a lot of other teams made good picks.
Yeah. Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, it's been a fantastic rookie class, and next
Harper's
year's
been great in San Antonio too.
absolutely.
And we'll see about Ace Bailey in Utah, but it's been Trey Johnson in Washington. It's been a little disappointing. I thought he was going to have a little more impact on the Wizards, but it's been great.
All right, next one. College basketball.
Well, I mean, the NIL's helped college basketball. It's kept kids. Look at the 2026 NBA draft. It's kids we know. A kid from BYU, a kid from North Carolina, the kid from Kansas is really good. It's kept players in college. It's a couple years. I think college basketball has been great. I have no problem with it at all.
Do you find it tougher to watch or tougher to follow as a Carolina fan compared to, and it's different, right? It's not the late 80s anymore, but do you still follow it as closely?
No, not at all. I mean, in fairness, so what you're asking, I remember when North Carolina recruited J.R. Reed, and it was on cover of Sports Illustrated because he was going to be in North Carolina for 3-4 years. So I was super invested in the Carolina recruiting classes. But no, that's never going to be the same again. But it's okay. That's okay. I still enjoy watching Carolina basketball, but I'm never going to feel about the team ever again the way that we did when you and I were growing up together because the kids don't stay.
Yeah. How about OKC 70 wins?
No, it's not going to happen. They're going to start taking their foot off the gas. It's not even important. No one would say that's the greatest team. The greatest team ever in the NBA is the 85-86 Celtics anyway. So no matter what records say, they brought Bill Walton off the bench. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. The 85-86 Celtics are the greatest NBA team of all time. Records aside, the Golden State Warrior team with Durant and Curry, they were incredible. The 2017 Warriors. You could argue the Bulls teams in the 90s, but, the NBA was different in the 80s, and the Celtics were beating teams. Remember, there was like 4, 5, or 6 less NBA teams back then, too. So, the Milwaukee Bucks had a great team. The Sixers had a great team. I would argue that the win totals now don't matter. Oklahoma City, however, could go back-to-back, which would always be impressive.
Absolutely, especially for such a young team to go back-to-back, especially for a young team that has a lot of draft capital, too. So I had a lot of other things on this list, but we covered them. I'll throw one more at you. NBA expansion.
So we talk about this in Memphis all the time. Is it expansion or is it relocation? If there's going to be expansion, we're going to Seattle and Vegas, right? Everybody knows it's the worst kept secret. LeBron will be the owner of the Vegas team. There'll be Seattle and Vegas. And Seattle will get the Supersonics back. If it's relocation, now I'm worried because it'll be the Seattle Grizzlies and it'll be the Las Vegas rename the Pelicans. I would prefer relocation if I was talking about what's good for the league. Now, from a personal standpoint, let's move the Grizzlies to the East so maybe I can see them play a few more times and we can beat up on the Brooklyn Nets and the Charlotte Hornets instead of being in the Western Conference. Because, we'll put 2 teams in the West. Seattle and Vegas are getting the teams. Memphis is going to the East, and that'll balance out the league. The problem, Jamie, is that like what we talked about with the 80s, there's too many teams now. There's a lot of really, really bad NBA teams.
Yeah. Yeah. Becomes a little watered down, right?
Super watered down. There's other people do podcasts. I talk about this all the time. Like, really, like look at the Brooklyn roster. Look at even the Miami Heat. All these things. Look at the rosters. The end of the roster. Those are not really like great NBA players.
Yeah, and they're not getting the development that they used to. The NBA has become its own development system. Playing for a bad team as a young player. I don't know if that's good for them. But while you might not have as much talent on the rosters today, you are getting more turnover because these kids are coming out after a year. Maybe NIL helps slow that down a little bit, but yeah, interesting. Right, right. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yes, you told me that before. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like they're gonna make a decision here sooner than later on what they're doing as far as adding teams. Now, uh, I think their goal, I can't remember, is it 29 or maybe 30 to have 2 more teams, or I shouldn't say 2 more teams, to have expansion. Um, let me not say expansion, to have some type of movement. That could be relocation. Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally agree. Well, Dave, that is great. I think that was a lot of information. Hopefully, our listeners appreciate it and enjoy it. Dave, what do you have coming up? I know you've got a lot of stuff going on. What's going on with Core 4? What's going on with CAC? Talk about it a little bit. Absolutely. And Dave, the BWE was from the Giant Center in Hershey 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Melted my heart. Great times there. Absolute great times. Well, thank you for being on the show. We'll do it again soon. And thanks everybody for listening. And I will talk to you soon. All right, that's a wrap on another really, really great podcast. By the way, my dogs are still wrestling. I've gone through this whole show and they are still wrestling. I'm not lying. I would move the camera and show you, but just trust me, they're right down here, actually. So, yeah, hopefully you learned a lot about our thoughts on the NBA, where teams are. We went through all of them. Again, great podcast. Hope to get Dave back again soon. We are recording, Murph and I think, is going to be tomorrow now, although that's a little in doubt. We'll see. Obviously, a lot of football coming up, especially college football for the next couple of days. So we do need to get a podcast out, but just listen for us. Again, I urge you, please, on YouTube, click subscribe, give us the thumbs up. My camera's literally shaking from them. I think Gracie's about to go off the top rope. But yeah, YouTube, hit subscribe, give us me the thumbs up. Would love to have more subscribers. And then on X, on Instagram, follow me at Tell Us Ellis HQ. Finally, if you want to join the podcast or have a question or just want to rant, just email me, jamie@tellusellis.com. Thank you for joining the podcast, listening to it, and I will see you soon, very soon.